Hello friends, very good morning. Let's start today's class of business law. Our what is going on? Chapter 2 Indian Contract Act 1872 Unit 3. Okay, we have completed yesterday till undue influence. So let's quickly revise these 2 points and then get to the today's topic. Okay, so yesterday we discussed what is coercion. What is coercion? Coercion means committing or threatening to commit, detaining or unlawful detaining of a property to the prejudice of any person and making him enter into the contract is called as coercion. Correct? Now, what are the effects of the contract entered through coercion? First one, the contract becomes voidable at the option of the party whose consent is so caused. Second one, any benefit taken thereunder must be repaid or returned. Any money received must be returned or repaid. Clear? Second one, undue influence. What is meant by undue influence? Where a person is in a position to dominate the will of another and he uses that position and takes the undue unfair advantage from the other and makes him enter into the contract, then the contracts are said to be based on undue influence. And what are the effects of these type of contracts? First point, again, the contract becomes voidable at the option of the parties whose consent is so caused. Second, any benefit taken thereunder or anything will be, the contracts will be set aside according to the court's decision. Whatever court will seem just, according to that the parties have to perform the contract. Okay, that we have discussed in our yesterday's class. Let's now start with our today's topic. So what is it today's topic? We will start with fraud. Section 17. Okay, 15 was coercion, 16 undue influence, now 17 is fraud. Okay, now fraud. What is meant by fraud? Fraud means, what's meant by fraud? Fraud. It is section 17. Try to remember the sections as much as possible. Okay, if you are able to remember, well and good. Try to quote them in the examinations also. Your weightage of your answer will increase. Okay, now fraud andrenu. What is meant by fraud? Fraud का मतलब होता है, normally we say no, this people, he has committed fraud. What does it mean? What did he do? He intentionally deceived, cheated on another person. Okay, so it includes any of the following acts committed by a party to the contract with the intent to deceive another. Deceive means cheat. Deceiving means cheating. To induce him enter into the contract. So what acts he is doing? He is doing the following acts: cheating the other party and making him enter into the contracts. So what are those acts? Number one, he is suggesting a fact. He is suggesting a fact. Number one, what does he do? He suggests a fact, believing it not to be true. He himself believes that it is not true. He believes not true, but still suggests a fact to other. Okay, the fact is also not true. He is telling it to others even though he knows it that it is not true. ಅದು ಟ್ರೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ದು ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. You take up this course. For example, they know that if you put the money in this particular account, it will not double. Okay, but they will still suggest you put the money in this account, it will double. They are trying to cheat you. That's called suggesting a fact which is not true. Fact also not true. Suggesting a fact also not true, and he believes not to be true, but he still suggests to another person. Okay, second one, what does he do? See, second, active concealment of the fact by one having knowledge or belief of the fact. He is actively concealing, means hiding the facts. He knows that in this company something is going on. Okay, but he still hides those facts so that you can make a contract with the other party. Okay, you are purposely keeping the figures hidden. So that's called actively hiding of facts. You're hiding some facts. Okay, actively concealment of facts. That is the second case. Third one, what you are doing? A promise made without any intention to perform. You are promising, but you have no intentions to perform. Promise, but no intentions to perform. No intentions at all. You will promise, give me the money, I will double the money, but you don't have any kind of intention to double it. You just want to take it and run away. Okay? So you will make the promise, but you will have no intention to perform it. Next one, any other act which is fitted in this particular scenario is also fraud, and any acts which law declares to be fraudulent. Any other act which fits. And the last one is law declaring the acts as fraud. These are the 5 things coming under the definition of fraud. So whenever we are given a case law related with the fraud, first you will write the definition cleanly and clearly. Okay, so what you will write, according to section 17 of Indian Contract Act 1872, any act, the following act done by a person with an intention to deceive and making him enter into the contract. So what are the facts? First, suggesting a fact which he believes not to be true. Okay, suggesting a fact which is not true and believes it not to be true. Second one, he actively hides the facts which are already in his knowledge. Third one, he makes a promise but he has no intentions to perform that promise. Fourth one, any act within this particular scenario. Fifth one, anything which law declares as fraudulent, okay, are coming under the heading of fraud. Be careful from the frauds, okay, because if anybody makes you enter into the contract based on these scenarios, then what happens? What happens? What is the effect of fraud? Effect of fraud, if any contracts are entered based on the fraud, so the contract, what will happen? The other party can always cancel the contract, but within a reasonable time they have to cancel the contract. Second one, you can sue for the damages because of fraud. If you have faced some damages, you can recover those damages. You can sue and recover. Okay. Next, you can insist the other party. You promise that you will double the money. I don't know. I don't want any damages. You have to double the money and give. You can insist the other party for performance, what they have promised. Okay. If the representations been true, so you can ask for the performance of the party if the representations have been true. Clear? So first, fraud definition. Okay, then the effects of fraud. So what are the effects of fraud? Again, the contract is first is voidable at the option of party defrauded. He can cancel the contract within reasonable time. He can sue for damages. He can insist for the performance of the contract. These are the effects. Are you clear? Okay. Now there are few points. Let us see. Silence amounts to fraud or not, one by one. See now. However, silence, keeping silence. Now somebody is asking you, you keep silence, whether your silence amounts to fraud or not. That's the question. Keeping silence. Okay. Silence is fraud. Silence is fraud as per section 72 only in the following cases. Always silence is not fraud. Only in the following 2 cases it is considered fraud. Okay. Silence will be fraud in the following 2 cases. Number 1, when there is duty to speak. Number 2, when your silence is equal to speech. In these 2 cases, silence is considered as fraud. Are you clear? Now, ma'am, what is this duty to speak? What is silence equal to speech? Let us see the examples. You will come to know about it clearly. Okay. Now, A sell by auction to B a horse which A knows to be answered. Very, very important. Please try to understand this. Okay. Let me ask you a question here. A wanting to sell the horse to B. What is he wanting to sell? Horse. A knows that horse is not in a good condition. A horse is of unsound mind. ओके, एक ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಏನಿದೆ, ए को पता है कि हॉर्स कैसा है हॉर्स अनसाउंड माइंड में. ठीक है. अब ए क्या कर रहे हैं? ए टेल्स नथिंग टू बी. he just gets the horse but tells nothing. He keeps what? Silence. Okay, now he is completely silent, but inside he knows it is horses of unsound mind. Now B buys the horse. Now tell me, is there any fraud on the part of A? Is it a fraudulent transaction? Yes? The answer is no. Is it a fraud? The answer is no. It is not fraud. A knows, but he still keeps silence. It is not fraud, because silence is fraud when it is duty to speak. Second, silence equivalent to speech. Correct? In these two cases only silence is fraud. Correct? Now here try to understand why. Here it is not A's duty to tell everything in the product. It is B's duty. While buying, he should completely check it, or if he has some questions, he has to ask it. Whenever, suppose you are also going to a store to buy a dress or to buy anything, okay, we'll take dress only. Okay, it's your duty to check the dress completely. If there is any hole in the dress somewhere, and shopkeeper sees it, but he's not telling you anything, he's waiting, ayo hodre saku, let the buyer purchase it. Okay, he will keep quiet. He is keeping quiet. He's not telling anything. You are trying to say it. You negligently just took the dress and you went. Now, can you go to the shopkeeper and tell it is fraud? You have given me the dress fraudulently. You have to refund me the full money. Can you tell so? No, because it is, what is the rule here? Buyer, be aware. Buyer, you are a buyer, be aware. When you are buying things, be aware, check carefully and then buy. It is not the duty of shopkeeper to disclose everything. Shopkeeper will not see here it is a hole. If you want, you can buy. If you don't want, you cannot. No, it is not the duty of shopkeeper. So same way in the case of horse also, horse unsound mind ide gottidrunu, what happens? It is not the duty of A to disclose it. It is the duty of B to check the horse and then buy it. Understood? And hence this transaction is not fraud. A kept silence, but it is not fraud. Are you clear? In the second example, try to understand this example now. In the above example, B is A's daughter. A and B. Now suppose the father and daughter. A is father, B is daughter. Now, because of their relationship, it becomes important for A to disclose the unsoundness of the horse. So here it becomes the duty of father to speak to B about the unsoundness. And if father does not speak, then it amounts to fraud. Clear? Okay. Next. Now see, again the same question with the horse, but the way of asking is changed. Now B is asking A. See, if you don't deny it, I shall assume the horse is sound. What? Suppose in the first scenario, this was the first scenario, okay? A was knowing that the horse was of unsound mind. Now, what is the second scenario? Second scenario we have is relationship between A and B. Daughter. B is what? Daughter. In this case, he has to disclose the unsoundness. Otherwise, it will become fraud. Okay. Now, in the third case, suppose in the third case, what is happening? Now, in the third case, B is clearly asking A. B is asking A. if you don't deny it, ನೀನು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ I will assume the horse is sound. He's clearly asking a horse sound ಇದೆನಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. And now tell me, if he does not say anything, now is it fraud or not? He is clearly asking whether the horse is sound mind or not. B is clearly asking, if you don't tell anything, I will assume that the horse is sound, good condition. ನೀನು ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ I will assume that horse is in a good condition. Okay, that's what B is telling. Now A keeps silence. Now here, this is a case of fraud or not? It is fraud. If he keeps silence, then it amounts to fraud, because it became his duty to speak. When somebody asks you a question, it means you have to answer that question. You have to reply the question. If you keep silence, your silence only will become speech here. Silence only will become answer like yes. Because B is clearly telling, if you keep silence, then I will assume the horse is in a good condition. And if you keep silence means the horse is in a good condition. Your silence will be equivalent to speech, and hence if the horse is of unsound mind, then you will be committing fraud. Clear? So same example, 3 different scenarios. Did you get it? First case, second case, and third case. Are you clear with all the 3 cases? Okay, chalo. Now next one. Now A, who is about to sell the goods, say that goods cost him 50,000. This is a statement of fact. But if he says the goods are worth rupees 50,000, it's a statement of opinion. Oh, that's clear, no? ನನಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇದು 50,000 ಇರಬಹುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್. ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಂಗೆ 50,000 ನಲ್ಲೇ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, now there are some examples given. Fraud ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನ್ ಇರಬಹುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, see now first one, there must be some representations made. Try to understand now. What we are discussing now, we are discussing fraud only, essential elements of fraud, one by one. Okay, so first one, there must be some representations or assertions made, and it must be false. What are the essential elements? Put the heading essential elements and write down, like simply we are making one kind of summary. Okay, essential elements. What are the essential elements we have? Number one, what we are making? We are making some representations. We are making some representations. What is meant by representation or presentation or assertions? Which must be false. Antandre, suppose if you go to a shop, I will try to make some presentations, like, see ma'am, this is very good, this has got new features, this feature, that feature. That's only presentation. Did you get it? Not like getting a PPT done or something like that only, then it is just telling. Even a vegetable vendor, fresh ide, tumba olledide, that's also a presentation. Understood? Now here in fraud also, there must be presentations, representations or assertions, and they must be false. Okay, second one. What is the second point we have? Second point is, the representation must be related to a fact. It must be related with a fact. ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಜೊತೆನೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ how they will tell. The representations must be made with an intention to make the other people enter before the contract. Representations must be made before contract. Representations ಯಾವಾಗ ಮಾಡಿರಬೇಕು? ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ then afterwards you do representation, then that does not matter also. Okay, so ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. Okay, so representations must be made before the contract is concluded. Third one is, representations must be made with the knowledge of its falsity or without belief in truth or recklessly not caring about whether it is true or false. Representations ಮಾಡಬೇಕು first which is not false, or it is false ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, or you don't know about the fact, ಅದು ಟ್ರೂ ಇದೆನಾ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ, you negligently just tell it ಹಿಂಗಿದೆ. You have not studied, you don't know about this product anything, but you said like this features it has. Actually in case it is not true. Okay, so that is again, it must be not true. Representations ಹೆಂಗಿರಬೇಕು? You have carefully made the carelessly, negligently made the representations, believing it not to be true or false, you don't know, but still you have made it. Okay. Next, the other party must have been induced to act upon those representations. ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ he must have entered into the contract. Why the contract must have happened? Contract should have happened only because of your representations. Based on your representations, the other party must have entered into the contract. ನೀವು ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆದಿದೆ ಅಂದದಕ್ಕೆ only then the party must have entered into the contract. Okay. Next, the other party must have relied upon the representations and must have been deceived. Because he entered into the contract, he should have, based on your representations, he enters into the contract and gets cheated, deceived. Okay. Last one, the party acting on the presentation must have consequently suffered a loss. He should have faced some losses because of that particular contract. Are you clear? See, what are the essential elements? First one, there must be some representations, assertions made and which are not true. Okay. Second one, they must be made before the conclusion of the contract. Third one, you have made the representations negligently, not even confirming the facts. Okay. Fourth one, based on your representations, the other party must have entered into the contract. Fifth one, after entering into the contract, he should have been deceived. Okay. And consequently, he should have suffered the losses because of that contract. These are the essential elements of fraud. Now, if there is the contract happening, then what will happen? Contract will become voidable. Second one, he can cancel the contract within reasonable time. He can sue for the damages. And the last one, he can still insist on the performance if the representations would have been true. Okay. So this is all about fraud. Are we clear? We studied the definition part. Then we found out whether silence amounts to fraud or not. Next one, mostly the questions come, silence amounts to fraud or not. Okay. So be careful with that part. Silence amount to fraud only when it is duty to speak or when silence is equivalent to speech. Otherwise, in all the cases, silence is not fraud. Clear? Okay. Okay. Now, quickly one example. A bought shares in a company on the faith of a prospectus which contained an untrue statement that B was the director of the company. A company prospectus nalli, उस company के prospectus में क्या लिखा है? लिखा है कि क्या है? B is a director of a company in act, but truly he is not. That's an untrue statement in the prospectus of a company. A never heard of B and therefore the statement was immaterial from his point of view. A's claim for damages in this case was dismissed. Okay, now answer the question. Very, very interesting one. Just answer me whether it is there or not. Now you decide and tell me whether in this example fraud happened or not happened. Okay? Listen to me. A read the prospectus. Prospectus is nothing but think it as an invitation card for now. Okay? Now A read the prospectus. In that prospectus, it was written that B is a director of the company. B was a director of the company, but in reality, he was not a director in the company. Okay, but A does not know anything about B. Avnidana, Avnilla, he is not knowing anything about the B. It is immaterial to him. Avnidana illa, that does not matter to him. Okay, B idana illa company dalli does not make a difference to A. Are you clear? ओके बी है या नहीं है कंपनी में उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. बी रहेगा तो भी चलेगा, बी नहीं है तो भी चलेगा ए के लिए. नाउ but at the end they come to know that there is some fraudulent transaction. Therefore statement was now afterwards actually B comes to know that B is not a director. Can now A claim for the damages? Is it a fraudulent activity? Can A claim damages afterwards if he comes to know that B is not a director in the company? Can A claim damages if afterwards A comes to know that B is not a director in the company? Is it a fraud on behalf of the company? Can A claim damages? No? Yes, very good. No. Why? No, that is correct. A cannot claim damages. Why? Because see, essential elements na lenittu. Based on the representations only he should enter into the contract. On B, director idanantane contract madidana. Only because B is a director, so only he has entered into the contract with the company? No. Avanidana illa, that does not make a difference to him. Okay, that was not a material fact to him. He still entered into the contract, not B being a director not affecting his approval. Correct? And hence A cannot claim for the damages. ओके बी को कोई फर्क ए को कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा था कि बी है या नहीं है दैट डज नॉट मेक एनी डिफरेंस टू हिम एंड हेंस he did not enter into the contract due to this fact ala e fact mele he did not make the contract. Okay, so hence it is not fraudulent on behalf of the company. Are we clear? Okay, see, now there are some cases where contract based on fraud is not voidable. Contract exceptions. We saw now the contract becomes voidable if based on fraud, correct? But there are some exceptions to this. What are the exceptions? Very, very important exceptions. If party's consent is caused by silence amounting to fraud, had the means of discovering the truth by ordinary diligence. Contract voidable agalla in the following two cases. Number one, when if you are a ordinary man with ordinary intelligence, so easily by looking into the facts you would have come to know it clearly fraud ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. It's not correct ಅಂತ you should have been able to understand by asking few questions or by just going through the books you would have come to know. In that case, if you make the contracts, then the contract is not voidable. Okay, okay. Second one, like in this case what happened, you don't enter into the contract because of that fact. Here in this case, even though this was an untrue statement, be director irlilla in real, correct, but you didn't enter into the contract based on this fact ala, and hence the contract is not voidable for it. Are you clear? Because A did not make a contract based on this statement, and hence A cannot avoid that contract. The contract will be not voidable on behalf of A. Andre nam presentations mele if you don't enter into the contract, then that contract is not voidable. If nam presentations mele you make the contract, then the contract is voidable. Clear? Okay, these are the two exceptions, please remember them. So by ordinary means, if you can discover the truth, then it is not fraud. So very, very common sense. If a man has a common sense, then he'll come to know, I give me the money, I'll double the money. Usually nobody does it. If there are, so you have to go and ask their documents. Just because our really there we have given, that's not excuse. And that point of time it will not become voidable. Clear? Okay, now section 18, going on to the next element, fourth element, that is misrepresentation. We have studied about fraud. Now we are going to the next topic, that is misrepresentation. Misrepresentation antandrenu, see here, try to understand the difference between fraud and misrepresentation. In fraud what happens, you make the statement knowing it not true, nimge adu true alla anta gottirutte, yes, but here in the case of misrepresentation what happens, kya ho raha hai yahan pe here also there is a statement or presentation. Statement, representations, assertions illu ide. Okay, here also there are statement, representations and assertions. But what do you think? You think it to be true. You think these statements what you are doing are true. Inge ide anta ನೀವು ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ. Okay, आपको लग रहा है कि वो सारा सच है, जो भी मैं बोल रही हूँ वो सारा करेक्ट है, but actual in reality they turn out to be false. You are suggesting the fact knowing it to be true, but afterwards it turns out to be false. See, the maker believes it to be true. You are the maker, you are believing it to be true, but it turns out to be false. which is not justified by the information he possesses. I always knew that, suppose for example, I always knew that ICI conducts the exam twice in a year. Okay, so I have not studied the amendments, what some changes have happened. So I'll keep on telling no, twice a year, twice a year, twice a year. But what information I had, according to my information, I'm suggesting others. See, ICI conducts exam twice in a year. But actually, does it conduct twice in a year? No, it conducts 3 times in a year. That's the actual information. But did not read the amendments, so I was making the presentation as it conducts twice in a year. Okay, did you get it? This is misrepresentation. Okay, what is fraud? Fraud yavagagutte? ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು it conducts 3 times in a year, but still I will tell it conducts only twice. Then it becomes fraud. Did you make out the difference between fraud and misrepresentation? Okay. Here in the first case, fraud nalli you know it is not true, but you still tell others. Second case, misrepresentation nalli you believe it to be true. You believe it to be true, but the facts, actually the information ಏನಿದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆ, you are not justified by the information you possess. Okay, but it turns out to be false. Now here there is no intention to deceive others. ನಿಮ್ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಚೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಇಂಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. You don't have any intention to cheat here, but it is done innocently as a mistake to the subject matter. You have entered into an contract and it brings advantage to you. Okay, but due to this mistake, due to this false information, you get the advantage. Then the contracts are said to have been induced by misrepresentation. Are you clear? Okay, try to understand the example here. A believed the engine of his motorcycle to be in an excellent condition. He's trying to sell his motorcycle. He's telling that, see, my motorcycle is in a very good condition, super. Okay, now A did not get the motorcycle checked at any workshop. He told it to B that it is an excellent condition. Now B, because A said it is an excellent condition, B bought that motorcycle. Okay, but when B was using it, he found out that the engine was defective. Now tell me, what will happen? Is it a misrepresentation? Shall I repeat? See, A wants to sell the motorcycle to B. A believes that his motorcycle is in an excellent condition. ಅವನು ಏನು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿಲ್ಲ, ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, just he is trying to tell that it is in excellent condition. Okay, B bought the cycle thinking of the same, excellent ide, so he bought it. Now when he started using it, he got to know that the motor vehicle is defective, it is not in excellent condition. Now is it a misrepresentation or a fraud? It is misrepresentation, because A always believed that his motorcycle, he also believed that his motorcycle is in an excellent condition. He believed the same, he said the same, but in reality it was not, it was defective. Okay, this amounts to what? Misrepresentation. Are you clear? Okay, now same another example also. See, now tell me this amounts to misrepresentation or not. Okay, try to listen to this example carefully and now tell me whether this amounts to fraud or not. A buys an article thinking it is worth 1000 rupees, when in fact it was worth only 500. Some goods are kept in a showroom or something. You feel that this product 1000 rupees worth irbodu, so you paid 1000 and you got it, but in fact the actual price would have been only 500. Now tell me whether it is misrepresentation, whether it is misrepresentation or not. In fact, the value of this product is just 500 rupees, but you bought it thinking that it could be worth 1000 rupees. You paid 1000 for it. You only thought that it is 1000 rupees and you gave 1000 rupees for this particular product and bought it. In fact, it was worth only 500. Now is it a misrepresentation? No. There is no misrepresentation on the part of seller because you thought of your opinion was this could be of that worth. Your knowledge is not sufficient for that particular. If sometimes you go shopping for a new product, okay, in which you have no knowledge, एष्टक सिगुते एन सिगुते कितने में आएगा कुछ पता नहीं है, बस हम ऐसे ही शॉपिंग करने चले गए, तब whatever the person will tell we will agree, okay, okay, and we will give and come back, correct? Then that is not misrepresentation, those contracts will be valid. Are you clear? Okay, sure. Moving on to the next, this is about misrepresentation. I think there are effects of misrepresentation. No, not given. I think it should have been mentioned. No, it is not. Okay, no problem. But still here also, I think in the differences it would have been mentioned, the effects of. Now let's quickly go through the differences between coercion and undue influence. Here, in coercion, physical force is involved, like gun, detaining of the properties, physical force, physically. Okay, but here in undue influence, mental pressure, father, student, teacher, student, doctor, patient, using the pressure mentally, physically nothing. Physically ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು coercion ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, here definition part, committing, threatening to commit any acts forbidden by Indian Penal Code. Illi no such illegal acts are not done. Okay, now in coercion no sort of relationship required, but here relationships are absolutely necessary. Okay, here coercion need not be performed by the promiser. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗನ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ನಾನೇ ನಿಂತ್ಕೋಬೇಕಂತ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. It is not required for me only to take a gun and stand. I can ask somebody else on my behalf to take a gun and threaten you. Okay, I can ask the other persons to kidnap you. I should only do anta no rule. Okay, whereas in undue influence it must be exercised by the parties only. Teacher only must exercise. Okay, clear? Now here contract will become voidable. Here also contract will become voidable, but the court may set aside or enforce it in the modified form. According to the court's decision, it will happen in undue influence. If you have taken any benefit thereunder, they must be restored back to the party. Here, court will decide what to return and what not. According to the court's direction, we have to act. Are you clear with the differences? Yes, very easy, correct? So easy. I know, because once we have studied this in detail, it becomes really easy. Now let us go to the next, that's difference between fraud and misrepresentation. I think you only can tell like this. What is it? Here you try to cheat the other party by hiding the facts. Here you have no such intentions. There is no cheating intention here. Now you make the suggestion believing it to be untrue. Untrue anta gottu nimge. Here you believe it to be true. Okay. Injured party can cancel the contract and claim for the damages in fraud. Here, effects of misrepresentation, we missed it, right? Here, what will happen? The injured party can cancel the contract or sue for restitution but cannot claim damages. Fraudulently can claim damages, but here cannot claim damages. That's the difference. The party using the fraudulent act cannot secure himself by saying that injured party had means to discover the truth. Party can always plead that the injured party had means to discover the truth. See, in the case of fraud, yaar fraud ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, fraud ಮಾಡಿದವರು can never say that you should have discovered the truth ಅಲ್ಲ, you should have tried to go through the documents and discovered the truth on your own. The fraudulent party cannot tell. But in case of misrepresentation, the other party can tell you should have discovered the truth by your own means. You can use it as an excuse in the court. Okay, these are the differences between fraud and misrepresentation. Now coming to our last element of free consent, that is mistake. What's meant by mistake? How many times we tell it? Oh, by mistake, I have written by mistake. Yeah, correct. Written by mistake, told by mistake. So many mistakes we do every day. Correct. So what does it mean? Innocent or erroneous belief which leads the party to misunderstand others. Innocently we are committing. Okay, just an erroneous belief. So mistake can be mistake of law, mistake of fact. There are two types of mistake: mistake of law, mistake of fact. What is mistake of law? Law, in understanding the law you are making the mistake. Okay, it may happen with everybody. Mistake of Indian law, you are not allowed to do the mistakes in the Indian law. Suppose everybody knows that wearing of helmet is compulsory, otherwise you will be charged. Correct? Fine. Now we will remove the helmet, roam around, and just tell whenever traffic police catches you, he catches you. What you will tell? Will tell, I didn't know that there's a law like this. We don't know about this law. If you tell that, then you are not excused. You have to pay the penalty. Because according to the Contract Act, what does it say? You are not allowed to make a mistake in the Indian law. If you commit that mistake also, you are not ignored. You have to pay the penalty. Are you clear? Even though you did not know your mistake, you have to pay it. Okay, you will not be ignored or you will not be excused because you didn't know the law. ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪೇ. ನೋ ನೋ ನೋ, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪೇ. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಾರಿನ್ law. Because we live in India, we should know about our country's law, but it is not required for you to know about the foreign country's law. Okay, so in that case, if some mistakes happen, then you are excused. Okay, the here contracts will become void if there is a mistake in the foreign law. Now, mistake of Indian law, let us see. A and B enter into contract on the erroneous belief that a particular debt is barred by Indian law of limitation. This is not voidable. If you don't know, the contract will be valid only. It will not become void or voidable. Indian law. But foreign law, it will become void. Are you clear? Now coming to the mistake of fact. Mistakes again of two types, bilateral mistake and unilateral. Wherever bi means two-side mistake, uni means one-side mistake. When both the parties are under a mistake to a matter, then it is bilateral. Such agreements will be void because you also misunderstood, he also misunderstood, both of you. Like quality of subject matter, existence, identity, title, price, quantity, whatever. I was thinking that this quality I asked, you were thinking you about that quality. I was telling about white bike, you were thinking about red bike. This is bilateral mistake. Both the parties had a mistake. Correct? So it can be related to price, it can be related to quantity, existence, identity, any kind. Okay? This is bilateral mistakes. In this cases, agreement will become void. But see, try to understand this unilateral mistake. Contract is not voidable when it is caused by unilateral mistakes. Unilateral mistakes ittu andre contract is still valid. I was telling clearly, study properly, otherwise you will not clear the examinations. Afterwards you tell me, ma'am, we made a mistake, like we did not understand that we have to study, so we just did not study. Means you cannot escape from the contract will be still valid. Okay, just because you did not understand, or you cannot tell this as an excuse. Only one party cannot tell that I did not understand and hence it is not clear. That those contracts will be definitely valid. Are we clear? So what all we have studied? Number 1, coercion. Number 2, undue influence. Number 3, fraud. Number 4, misrepresentation. Number 5, mistake. Okay, we studied these 5 things. Now let us quickly tell what happens to the contracts when it is entered by coercion. Coercion aitu andre contracts, what will happen to the contracts? Voidable. In undue influence, voidable. In fraud, voidable, cancel the contract and ask for the damages as well. But here also voidable and but cannot ask for the damages. In mistake, it's not voidable. It is either void or valid. Clear? Okay. Chal. Now, these are the 5 elements we are discussed in the free consent. Clear? Consent is said to be free if it is free from all these 5. If any of the element is present, then the consent is not free and the contract is invalid. Okay, first we learnt about the capacity of the contracts. Second, we learnt about the free consent. Now the third one is legality of object and consideration. We always know that both the objects and the considerations both must be lawful, otherwise the contracts will become void. Okay, I think we'll keep the class till here for today and we will continue tomorrow. Okay, so thank you.